The midday sun beat down on the training grounds, the kind of heat that made tempers short and egos loud. A group of male recruits lingered near the gate, fresh uniforms still stiff, confidence overflowing, discipline not quite learned yet. They were joking, nudging each other, bored and restless as they waited for their next instruction. Then they noticed her. A black woman stood a short distance away, calm, observant, dressed simply. No rank patches visible from where they stood, no entourage, no noise, just presence. To the recruits, that silence became an invitation. Snickers turned into laughter. Someone made a crude gesture. Another whispered something ugly. One of them, louder than the rest, made a mock face and compared her to a monkey, and the group erupted again, feeding off each other's cruelty like it was entertainment. They thought no one important was watching. What they didn't realize was that the base had eyes everywhere. Cameras near the gate, officers passing in the background, a few soldiers nearby who froze, unsure whether to intervene or stay out of it. The woman didn't react the way the recruits expected. No shouting, no tears, no visible anger. She simply turned her head slightly and looked at them, long enough for the laughter to falter, just for a second. That look wasn't fear, it was assessment. The recruits brushed it off and kept laughing, convinced they had power in numbers. They had no idea that, at that exact moment, a senior officer inside the command building was watching the live feed. And that officer stood up from his desk immediately. Minutes later, the atmosphere shifted. The gate buzzer sounded. Boots hit the ground with purpose. A commanding officer approached the group, his face unreadable. The recruits snapped to attention late, sloppy, still half smiling, assuming they were about to get a routine warning. The woman they'd mocked stepped forward at the same time, and then everything stopped. The officer turned toward her and addressed her formally, with respect so sharp it cut through the air. He used her full title. He acknowledged her authority. He deferred to her. The recruits' faces drained of color. This wasn't a civilian. This wasn't a visitor. This wasn't someone passing through. She was the commanding authority of the entire base, the person who signed off on assignments, the person who reviewed conduct reports, the person who decided who stayed, who advanced, and who was sent home. Silence replaced laughter, the kind of silence that makes your ears ring. She looked at the recruits again, this time closer, and finally spoke. Her voice was steady, controlled, and devastatingly calm. She didn't repeat their words. She didn't need to. She told them that the military was built on discipline, respect, and accountability. That prejudice wasn't just immoral, it was a liability. That anyone who couldn't respect the chain of command or basic human dignity had no place wearing that uniform. Then she ordered a full review. Phones were confiscated, statements were taken, footage was saved. Each recruit was separated, no more safety in the group. By the end of the day, the consequences were clear. Some were reassigned, some were formally reprimanded. At least one was removed from the program entirely. Their promising starts ended not because of physical weakness or lack of skill, but because of character. Word spread fast across the base. Some called it harsh, others called it overdue, but no one questioned her authority. The message was unmistakable. Power doesn't always announce itself, and disrespect has a cost. What made the moment unforgettable wasn't just the punishment. It was the contrast. A woman who had been mocked stood unshaken. Men who thought they were untouchable stood exposed. In a matter of minutes, arrogance collapsed under the weight of reality. Later, a young recruit who had witnessed everything from a distance said it changed how he saw leadership forever. He realized that true authority doesn't come from volume or intimidation. It comes from composure, consistency, and the willingness to hold people accountable, even when it's uncomfortable. The woman returned to her duties as if nothing extraordinary had happened, because to her, it wasn't extraordinary. It was necessary. She had spent years earning her position, navigating spaces where people underestimated her, doubted her, and sometimes disrespected her openly. She didn't need revenge. She needed standards upheld. And that day, they were. The recruits who laughed learned a lesson they would carry for the rest of their lives, not just about racism or rank or consequences, but about humility, about never assuming you know who someone is by how they look, about remembering that in the real world, and especially in the military, respect isn't optional. The base moved on, training continued, orders were given and followed. But the story didn't fade. It became a quiet warning passed from one class to the next. Watch your words, watch your actions, and never underestimate the woman standing quietly in the room because she just might be the one in command.